1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President pledges to resurrect a country from bankruptcy and build an economy free from debt. The retirement age of doctors, specialists, amended in a special gazette. The Consumer Affairs Authority to inform revised egg prices to the court today. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery to resume operations from tomorrow. Over 15,000 Triforces absentees to receive legal discharge. The first ever mobile app for tourism in Vilpattu National Park launched. International news, WHO chief hopes COVID will no longer be an emergency next year. Sports cricket, Kane Williamson steps down as New Zealand captain with Tim Southee named as replacement. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe stressed that he will work with a strong resolve towards resurrecting the country from bankruptcy and stressed that he will build an economy that is free from debt and create a stable economy that is able to pay its debts. He stated this during the opening of the Toyota Lanka Fulfillment Centre in Mahara Kadawatha, coinciding with 70 years of Japan-Sri Lanka relations. The President said that today the country has become bankrupt due to the failure to change the economic program after the war, but said that he expects to increase the investment opportunities and move the economy forward by next year. The Consumer Affairs Authority says that the revised maximum retail price for eggs will be notified to the court today. The Consumer Affairs Authority said the new control price for eggs will be notified based on a court order. The Court of Appeal yesterday ordered the Consumer Affairs Authority to annul the Gazette notification issued by the authority in August, setting a maximum retail price for eggs. The court gave the order when the petition filed by the All Island Egg Producers Association challenging the egg prices was called today. Accordingly, the Court of Appeal ordered the Consumer Affairs Authority to set a new price for eggs immediately. The maximum retail price of a white egg has been set at 43 rupees and a brown egg at 45 rupees. State Minister of Finance Shehan Semesinghe said a Japanese delegation has assured Japan's continued support to Sri Lanka on debt restructuring. State Minister of Finance Shehan Semesinghe met with Japanese delegation led by Yutaka Arima, Director General Southeast and Southwest Asian Affairs Department of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, and the Ambassador of Japan Mizukoshi Hideaki Tuesday at the Ministry of Finance. The discussion focused on Sri Lanka's current economic stabilization program as well as reforms and measures that have been implemented recently to overcome the challenges. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. More than 15,000 military personnel have offered to quit their military service during the general amnesty period that has been granted for the Triforces absentees to receive a legal discharge from their respective services. The Minister of Defence announced a general amnesty period from November 15th to December 31st for the Triforces personnel who have been absent from duty without leave. Accordingly, 15,476 Army personnel have come forward to receive legal discharge so far, said Brigadier Ravi Herath, the Army media spokesperson, highlighting that necessary measures have already been completed to legally discharge 15,165 of them. The officers of the Narcotic Control Unit of Sri Lanka Customs have seized 650 grams of methamphetamine, commonly known as ice, found clandestinely hidden in a bag when the officers searched a suspicious courier parcel that arrived from Mexico addressed to a person in Mathura, and the officers of the Narcotics Control Unit arrested the suspect who came to collect the parcel, which contains the haul of methamphetamine. According to Sri Lanka Customs, the street value of the haul of drugs is estimated to be around 13 million rupees. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
An extraordinary Gazette notification has been published with interim provisions amending the retirement age of doctors, specialists and dental surgeons. The communique dated 12 December 2022 was issued. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, in his capacity as the Minister of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Council and Local Government. The Court of Appeal on the 14th of this month gave an interim order suspending the inclusion of doctors and specialist doctors in the Gazette notification on the compulsory retirement of government sector employees. As per the court order issued after taking into consideration a writ application filed by 176 specialist doctors, the compulsory retirement age of 60 will not be enforced on doctors and specialist doctors until January 25th, 2023. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
Celebrate Christmas and New Year with lots of CIB discounts. Valuable gifts with bank discounts till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
A mobile app dedicated to self-guiding tourist information, navigation and virtual tours was launched for the first time in Sri Lanka at the Wilpattu National Park yesterday. The mobile app was developed together with the Wildlife Conservation Department and GIZ Sri Lanka, supporting Wilpattu National Park and Influence Zone Management in Sri Lanka on behalf of the German Federal Ministry of Economic and Development Cooperation. The app includes many features to enhance visitor experience like park information, interactive navigation, online rating system and 360-degree virtual tours. And that was Watchlight.
Celebrate Christmas and New Year with lots of CIB discounts. Valuable gifts with bank discounts till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
World News headlines. WHO chief hopes COVID will no longer be an emergency. Dozens freed in new Ukraine-Russia prisoner swap. Australia accuses Apple, Microsoft for overlooking child sex abuse. World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on Wednesday he is hopeful that the COVID-19 pandemic will no longer be considered a global emergency sometime next year. His comments at a briefing with media come as China dismantles its rigid zero-COVID policy and allows people to live with the virus, stirring concerns the world's number 2 economy faces a surge in infections. The designation is intended to trigger a coordinated international response and could unlock funding, collaborate on sharing vaccines and treatments. Dozens of people, including a United States citizen, have been released in the latest prisoner swap between Russia and Ukraine, nearly 10 months into a grinding war that began after Moscow invaded its neighbor. The latest exchange included 64 Ukrainian soldiers and a U.S. national living in Ukraine. Andriy Yermak, the head of President Volodymyr Zelensky's office, said on Wednesday. The White House National Security spokesman John Kirby did not name the freed American, citing privacy concerns. Hundreds of detainees have been freed in swaps in recent weeks. Australia's internet safety watchdog has accused tech giant Apple and Microsoft of turning a blind eye to the sexual exploitation of children. Australia's e-safety commissioner said in a report on Thursday that the tech giants were not doing enough to tackle the problem, as they do not proactively search for child exploitation material on their services despite the availability of software. The findings came after her office issued legal notices requiring Apple, Meta, WhatsApp, Microsoft, Skype, Snap, and Omegle to provide information about their policies for preventing child exploitation on their services. Back to the headlines of the world news. WHO chief hopes COVID will no longer be an emergency. Dozens freed in new Ukraine-Russia prisoner swap. And Australia accuses Apple, Microsoft for overlooking child sex abuse. That ends World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
odds, in the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
On to development news, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announced that Zapugaskanda oil refinery, which has been out of production for several days without imported crude oil, is taking all necessary steps to resume operations from 16th of December. Due to the shortage of crude oil, the authorities took steps to close the refinery on October 7th. A ship carrying 90,000 metric tons of imported Marban crude oil has already arrived at the Colombo port after completing the necessary payments. The corporation has started the unloading operations at Zapugaskanda refinery tank complex. And that was development news. And now we're moving on to sports news. It's cricket news. Kane Williamson has stepped down as New Zealand Test captain, with Tim Southee named as the replacement. Williamson, aged 32, will remain as captain for the One Day International and 2020 sides. The batter was appointed Test skipper in 2016 when he replaced current England coach Brendan Macklem and has won 22 out of 40 tests in charge. Williamson led New Zealand to the World Cup final in 2019 and the T20 World Cup final in 2021, which they lost to England and Australia. Meanwhile, in other cricket news, Arjun Tendulkar, the son of Indian great Sachin, hit a century on his first-class debut. The 23-year-old scored 120 from 207 deliveries for Goa against Rajasthan. Tendulkar Jr. is primarily a bowler and was batting at 7, but he struck 3 figures to help Goa reach 493 for 8 in the Ranji Trophy. And that was sports news.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest. An interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Hema's Outreach Foundation, together with National Secretariat of the Early Childhood Care and Development of the Ministry of Women's and Child Affairs, successfully conducted its annual teacher training program for the 21st consecutive year. The 3-day residential training program, conducted in Sinhala and Tamil by renowned trainers, was attended by over 100 teachers from Piyavara preschool across the island. Piyavara signifies the initial steps taken by a child at the beginning of a journey through life. Its vision was to nurture children with good care and provide a solid foundation for life. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest. An interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Economic news, courtesy of...
For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first. And this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC, imagine the possibilities.
On to economic news. According to the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe proposed strengthening of the Fiscal Management Responsibility Act, which would require strict compliance with the fiscal targets, will be the next key reform for economic stability, leading to a sustainable economy in the long term. He made these remarks at the inauguration of the CA Sri Lanka Annual Research Symposium held in Colombo yesterday. The government has announced plans to introduce a new Public Financial Management Act next year, incorporating binding fiscal rules and appointment of an Inspector General to keep the expenditure in check. And that was economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022. Leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall Gold Award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
On to the weather report. The Meteorological Department forecasts a showery condition to enhance in the northern, north central and eastern provinces of the island in the next few days. Several spells of showers will occur in the eastern and Nuwa provinces and in the Polonnaruwa and Mathili district. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces during the afternoon or night. And that was the report. And before we conclude this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The President pledges to resurrect the country from bankruptcy and build an economy free from debt. The retirement age of doctors, specialists, amended in a special gazette. The Consumer Affairs Authority to inform revised egg prices to the court today. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery to resume operations from tomorrow. Over 15,000 Triforces absentees to receive legal discharge. The first ever mobile app for tourism in Vilpattu National Park launched. International news, WHO chief hopes COVID will no longer be an emergency next year. Sports cricket, Kane Williamson steps down as New Zealand captain with Tim Southee named as replacement. And with that we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.